Well, welcome back to storytelling. Oh, it's not such a happy day today since we had some torrential thunderstorms and rain last night, and I was awoken in the middle of the night by not so much the thunder, but two dogs tapping on my bed saying, "Help me, I don't like this." But we all managed to get back to sleep. So, I want to continue with a few more of these animal stories because they are so pleasant and heartwarming, and almost everybody loves animals. So, this one I'm going to read is called The Captain. And it's sad but beautiful. In the middle of Iowa, on acreage just on the outskirts of a little town, sits an old farmhouse. Inside the house, there are lots of couches and soft, comfortable chairs, hand-built perches and scratching posts, kitty doors that lead to outside pens with grass and trees and lots of sunny spots to stretch out. Every day, volunteers come to groom and pet and feed freshly cooked food to the many cats who have this farmhouse all to themselves. There's also a small staff who keep the cat's house sparkling clean. There are dogs there, too. Out back behind the house, near the garden and the orchard, are large dog kennels with insulated and heated dog houses in them. Volunteers come to walk and feed and love up the rescued dogs who are brought there when their time is up at the city pond. As you can tell, the Noah's Ark Animal Foundation runs an unusual kind of no-kill sanctuary. Yet it is a safe, licensed, state-licensed animal shelter, officially run as a nonprofit charitable organization for over a decade. For many years, I had dreamed of running a shelter for lost, stray, and abandoned animals. But I wanted the shelter to be comfortable and home-like. Plus, I wanted to feed the animals healthy, high-quality food and treat any animals with natural remedies. Noah's Ark has been that dream come true for me. It has been wonderful to watch as the often malnourished animals who come to the shelter start to blossom with health. Their shining coats, their bright eyes, make all the hard work worthwhile. Their personalities blossom too. Some of the cats assume the role of official greeter, strolling out to inspect anyone who comes to visit. Freddie, a large and beautiful gray Persian, was one of these greeters at Noah's Ark. In fact, I called Freddie the Captain. He was not a cuddly cat, being far too macho for that, but he was a friendly sort, and no one came to the shelter who was not subject to the captain's inspection, and perhaps a rub or two against the leg. Freddie had been at the shelter 6 or 7 years and had become a personal favorite of mine. One Saturday morning, I received a frantic call from one of the volunteers who had gone to feed the cats that morning. Something terrible had happened. I had to come right away. Nothing could have prepared me for what I found when I arrived at the shelter. During the night, someone had broken into the locked shelter and gone on a killing spree, using blunt instruments to murder and maim over 25 cats. The shock was devastating, and I was almost numb as I called the police and other volunteers to come and help. We gathered up the injured and the dead in an attempt to put the shelter back into some semblance of order. As the word quickly spread, the local church sent a crew of 10 men to help out, including 2 ministers. It was the compassionate and conscientiousness of the laborers and volunteers that got me through the worst moments of that moment. After about an hour, I had panicked and I thought, what about the dogs? Running out to the kennels to check, I was immediately relieved to find them all unharmed. Two of the dogs in our care, Duke and Dolly, are Rhodesian Ridgeback Mastiff mixes. Enormous and powerful looking dogs with the heart of puppies. When it came to people they know and love, for once I was glad they looked so formidable, even though it's probably why they hadn't found homes yet, for I was sure that that was why no stranger had been foolish enough to take them on. When I returned to the house, volunteers were placing the cats that had died in a cart for burial. I felt the tears come to my eyes as I recognized so many of my little friends. And then I saw the gray body partially covered by a towel. Not Freddie, I moaned. Please don't let it be Freddie. But the captain was nowhere to be found, and I had to face the fact that Freddie was gone. I felt physically sick when I thought that it was probably his friendly, trusting nature that had killed him, walking right up to people who had evil intentions toward this sweet and innocent animal. The outpouring of concern and sympathy from supporters in the community was amazing. And after the local paper reported the incident, the national news services picked it up, and they soon were getting calls and flooding in from all over the country. People even drove from neighboring states to adopt survivors of the attack. It was a painful time for me. I felt the grief of losing so many beings I had come to love, and I was bewildered by the selflessness of the whole thing. 3 young men from the local high school were convicted of the crime. The incident caused a tremendous uproar in our little town. The violence that ravaged the shelter was the subject of intense debate. A small but vocal minority felt the victims were just cats. So, what was the big deal? But the majority of people outraged and animal lovers demanded justice. I felt dazed, trapped in a bad dream that wasn't going away. Nothing could bring back the cats that had died as we went about the sad business of looking for the terrified cats who had escaped to hide, and of caring for the traumatized and injured cats who remained. I mourned my friends, especially Freddie. A few days later, as I was stepping out of the house, I saw a large gray Persian coming slowly toward me, and I scared us both by yelling, "Freddie!" at the top of my lungs. It couldn't be, but it was. He was wobbly and shaken, no longer the suave and debonair greeter of old, but he was alive. I scooped him up into my arms and I held him to my chest, my tears falling on his head as I hugged and stroked him. Freddie had come back. In the chaos of the terrible morning, I had confused Freddie with another gray Persian lying dead, half hidden by a towel on the burial cart. Freddie had been one of the lucky ones to make it outside and escape the other's appalling fate. Miraculously, it took only a few weeks for Freddie to come around. Eventually, he even resumed his duties as the official greeter. In my grief after the incident, I had felt like giving up. I just hadn't had the heart to continue. It was the gray cat's courage and willingness to trust again that helped mend my own shattered spirit. Ultimately, my love for Freddie and others like him made me decide to continue Noah's Ark and its life-saving rescue work in spite of what had happened. Today, if you visit our shelter, you will be greeted by a large and confident gray cat walking proudly toward you to meet you. His green eyes miss nothing as he inspects you from head to toe. If you pass muster, then you may feel his large bulk pressing affectionately against your shins. For the captain, I am happy to report, it's business as usual. Now, isn't that a sweet story? It's a little bit sad in the beginning that people could be so mean and nasty that they would do such a horrible thing to innocent animals. But unfortunately, that's the way some people are. And you can't ever put past the evil and nasty things that people are willing to do. And I'm going to finish off here today with a little short thing that made me smile when I read it, but it's good advice for everyone. It's called The Things We Can Learn from a Dog. And since I have 2 dogs, I have to take all of these things to heart. Number 1, never pass up the opportunity to go for a joy ride. Allow the experience of fresh air and the wind in your face to be pure ecstasy. When loved ones come home, always run to greet them. When it's in your best interest, always practice obedience. Let others know when they've invaded your territory. Take naps and always stretch before rising. Run and romp and play daily. Eat with gusto and enthusiasm. Be loyal. Never pretend to be something you're not. If you want lies buried, dig until you find it. When someone is having a bad day, be silent. Sit close by and nuzzle them gently. Delight in the simple joy of a long walk. Thrive on attention and let people touch you. Avoid biting when a simple growl will do. On hot days, drink lots of water and lie under a shady tree. When you're happy, dance around and wag your entire body. No matter how often you are criticized, don't buy into the guilt thing and pout. Run right back and make friends. So this is advice from a dog, but it seems to me that it's pretty good advice for people too. So I hope you find a little enjoyment and relaxation when you hear these little stories. And since we're still living in our time of lockdown and we've had some bad news lately, let's try and keep ourselves together, try and keep ourselves stay safe, to obey all the rules, and try and find some happy in the day. Thank you.